Hey yo, what's up gamers? Chains is here with another video covering the games that I've been playing lately. Today, I'm here to talk to you about some Path of Exile. I'm gonna throw down some information on this new Path of Exile League, Settlers of Kalgur. And before we get started, I know that you've probably never come across one of my videos before, and by no means am I a Path of Exile veteran. But if you learned something new or you enjoyed this video in general, a like, a subscription, and then chatting with me down in the comments would mean the absolute world to me. So, as most of us already know, Path of Exile is one of the most intimidating games for new players because there's so much content in the game. There's so many different ways to do your builds, so many different items, so on and so forth. A lot of people refer to it as the Excel spreadsheet simulator, and they let you know that you need a PhD worth of hours of information to be able to build your own builds and have fun in the game in general. But I will say, with this new Settlers of Kalgur League, it's not really that complicated. They made it a lot more approachable for new players. Now, I'm not saying there's not an exponential amount of knowledge needed to create your own builds and really understand how the whole gem and aspect thing works. But with me, I'm still a noob to this game, and I can say that the league has definitely felt more approachable than leagues in the past that I've tried. I followed an overpowered build guide. I used the Frostblink Ignite Elementalist. I can't freaking talk today, but I used the Frostblink Ignite Elementalist, and dude, there is something so satisfying about teleporting through mobs of enemies and leaving them all burning to the ground. And then boss encounters were often a great challenge due to it being a glass cannon. This is a glass cannon type of build, so it wasn't just overpowered damage non-stop. You know, I did have to be careful because if I got hit one time, likely I died and had to start over again. And I was okay with that just because if I'm going to use something very powerful, I want there to be a downside to it. I don't want to be super tanky while also dealing out loads and loads of damage. And I will say I definitely had an absolute blast grinding out the levels and making my own personalized adjustments to this build along the way. And for new players, this approach is definitely what I strongly recommend, especially if you've never really played the game before. Even if you're very well versed with ARPGs in general, following a good build guide is going to be the easiest way for you to enjoy the leveling system, and then maybe whenever you start your next character, try to do your own thing. Because like I said, I went through with an overpowered build guide. I made my own personalized adjustments along the way. Some abilities that I really liked to use throughout leveling, I used them in the end game, and it worked out. You just have to know how to buff them correctly, and within the first 15-20 hours you'll be able to figure out what gems you're looking for and where to place them, how to adjust the sockets, how to adjust the connections, so on and so forth. But regardless, I do strongly recommend that you follow a build guide. I used mine on, I think it was Icy Veins, I don't really remember, but I used it from a website, followed it the whole way, helped me all the way to level 70, and then helped me into the end game as well. Before you get in there, I will say there's a vast selection of abilities. It's all these little gems. You put them in sockets on armor, on weapons, everything else, and all of the buffs also apply to that. There are certain ways you should level the gems, as in like skipping levels, not leveling it up all the way. Stuff that'll help you when you're actually min-maxing your build at the very end. And I will say that even with a build guide, I was often in the global chat asking questions, to which the community was very responsive and very helpful for a new player. I thought that was very endearing for this to be such a daunting type of game. So now, here's what you can expect in terms of gameplay from the new league. In this expansion, players are tasked with assisting the Kalguran travelers in constructing the town of Kingsmarch, which is establishing overseas trade between Rayclast, the main world that we're in, and their homeland where they came from. This isn't like city skylines level deep, but the resources needed for new buildings and upgrades gave me a sense of purpose when exploring every map and when delegating workers to their relative positions. You'll encounter familiar faces from leagues of the past, including Danig, Rog, I don't know, Tuyen, and Gwynnon. These faces are not ones that I'm necessarily acquainted with, but I at least know that they've been in for the past couple of expansions. So right away, the task to seek out resources throughout this new journey in Rayclast, these resources that you use to build up your town and establish this tripping trade route to Kalgur begins immediately. This includes everything from smithing to farming and disenchanting gear, as you hire new workers and collect gold to pay for their labor. Hire miners to collect valuable resources like crimson iron, orichalcum, or a chalcum or a shalcum. I'm not sure. They made up all this stuff and I think it's pretty cool. But anyway, crimson iron, orichalcum, petrified amber, and bismuth, all of which can be smithed into bars to make the trade a little bit more profitable for you. Once you build up the harbor, you can establish the trade routes to various Kalguring and Karui ports to trade your goods for random gear and currencies or crafting materials. I feel like this feature makes the late game min-maxing a lot easier to learn for newer players like me who have never experienced this system that's so in depth. When you have the resources to build up and stock up all these items in your town, you can trade them for very valuable resources that are a lot harder to grind in the normal gameplay loop. Aside from shipping, the Kalgurans are big on their technology, using Isla, an engineer from the Heist League, in the endgame. Isla can help you build a series of Kalguran modified map devices, which you can put in the queue of maps. If you've hired a few skilled combatants, they'll put themselves to work running those maps for you, one after another. In the end game, you get these maps, you apply them to the map device, and it's essentially like a dungeon from Diablo. You go through this map, you kill all the enemies, you kill the boss, and you get the rewards. So having the ability to put a worker in there to do all of that for you, it's just passive loot grinding. You come back, you've already got all this loot that you can sell for more resources. Maybe it's a good piece you can add to your build. You're constantly getting all the resources that you need for crafting and for adjusting your builds. It's a super, super helpful thing. Operated by our boy Danig over there, he's running this runesmithing table that uses a powerful Kalguran blacksmithing art to engrave runic magic onto your weapons. Aside from gathering maps and crushing dungeon runs, I thoroughly enjoyed the Heist, which I think is from the most recent league. You get access to them pretty early on, and once I learned how to run them up, I just could not stop. The heists were a great distraction from the main story and a fantastic in-game activity. I love having an intense ARPG experience with a little city management on the side. It's this combination that I never really knew I needed in my life because I've been trying to delve through my backlog and beat game after game after game. And honestly, being able to fall back on this sort of like a cozy game has been fantastic, because if I'm not feeling just running a dungeon after dungeon after dungeon, I can start trying to spread out and focus on micromanaging the workers in my town to ensure that I get the right resources to kind of min-max my build towards the end. And now that I'm in the end game, I'm still refining that Frostblink build that I mentioned in the first as I prepare to run another build in the near future. I'm overly thankful that this league and the community has been so approachable, making this one of my favorite games in the rotation today. If you're a big ARPG fan, let me know down below if you're excited for Path of Exile 2 or for the new DLC for Diablo. As for me, I am super pumped for both. I've read that the new Path of Exile is really looking to change up the ARP genre on PC, changing the movement controls and everything. I can say that I've gotten so accustomed to the point and click movement, I expect there's going to be a decent learning curve coming along with the new game, but hey, I'm always open to learning something new with these ARPGs. I'm new to the whole ARPG scene, I would say like within the past couple of years, especially on PC, but anything new coming from the developers of Path of Exile, I'm all for it. And then when it comes to Diablo, we all know that Season 4 was just the kickoff it needed. It was the loot system we needed. The game has been absolutely amazing. I know Season 5 just dropped, I think today, the day that I'm uploading this video, and I'm super excited to check it out after I check out, Delta Force and some other games that I've been invited to play. Regardless, the upcoming DLC on October 4th looks absolutely fire, and I cannot wait for the new class. I'm itching for a new class to run in that game, because I've beat all the other classes to death. Nonetheless, all of us ARPG enjoyers have a lot of content to feed on over the next few months. And again, I'll say it a million times, I'm so thankful that I've gotten into Path of Exile to prepare me for Path of Exile 2. And I'm really glad that Diablo has really turned itself around to make Diablo 4 one of the better games to play as of right now. All right, thank you for a piece of your time. If you enjoyed any part of this video, let me know down in the comments. I'm always down to talk video games with some new homies. Smash that like button, sub for future gaming entertainment, and above all else, have a baller day. If you see someone, smile at them, make them smile back. All you can do is spread a little positivity to help this world out. Am I right? As a reminder, I am Chains. I'm here every now and then. I'm starting to stream a little bit more, so follow me on Twitch, follow me on all the socials and all that cool stuff. I really appreciate you hanging out with me for a bit, and we will see you in the next one.